Howdy everybody. So in this video we'll talk about the types of maintenance accounts that independent contractors or owner operators have at different companies. For example, at Crete, what's the maintenance account situation there? So there are two types of maintenance accounts. There's a voluntary maintenance account and then there's a required maintenance account. You could have both. Um, Typically, if you're making truck payments and you purchase a truck from Crete, you're going to have what's called a required maintenance account. And that's going to stay in place until your truck is paid off, and it will be up to 18 cents per mile. In addition to that, you could have a voluntary maintenance account, and you could put whatever amount you want. I do believe there's a limit on that, but generally speaking, people will put 5 cents or 10 cents per mile into the voluntary maintenance account. So let me describe how this works. So let's say, for example, you're making truck payments and you have a required maintenance account. There are restrictions on that account. For example, you can't use that money for personal use. You can only use the required maintenance account for authorized maintenance repairs. So let's say, for example, you go into Love's and you need to buy a new set of drive tires and you got thousands of dollars saved up in your required maintenance account. Then you would contact someone at Crete and then they would authorize that money to be spent. But let's say you are at Iowa 80 truck stop and you wanted to buy a new CB and you want to take money from your required maintenance account. Well, that would not be authorized because that's not a preventative maintenance or any maintenance related type of item. That's more like a personal item. So, that's how the required maintenance account works. It comes automatically out of your pay settlement every week. 18 cents per mile. So if you're driving, 3,000 miles, then you can calculate how much that is going into your required maintenance account. And that can add up over time. That could add up to several $1,000s. The other type of maintenance account is a voluntary maintenance account. And typically what this does is that, guys who have their trucks paid for may still want to put money into a maintenance account, especially if they're going to put in a work order or repair order at one of the Crete facilities. And they would use the money out of their voluntary maintenance account. So let's just say you want to get an oil change while you're at a Crete facility. So you would get the work authorization, and as long as you have money in that account, they would do that. Now, if you don't have any money in a maintenance account, required maintenance account or voluntary maintenance account, then Crete won't work on your truck at one of their facilities. So you got to have money in there. So a lot of guys will put at least a minimum amount of money in a voluntary maintenance account. And then still, the thing with a voluntary maintenance account is that's your money. You can spend it on anything you want. So if you want to spend it on that CB, then, let's say you're at the Iowa 80 and you want to spend that money on CB. Well, you could send a request in the Crete, say, hey, take, $500 out of my voluntary maintenance account and include it on next week's pay settlement. And they'll do that. Oftentimes, guys will use the voluntary maintenance account as a way to save money towards their time off. So let's say they're planning on taking 2 weeks off, and then they'll save up that money in that voluntary maintenance account, and they will use that for home time. Because you won't get a pay settlement when you take time off. So then it'll be like, they'll send a request and say, hey, let's take $1,000 out of my voluntary maintenance account. That way they keep the cash flow going. So, to recap, there's two types of maintenance accounts. There's a required maintenance account, and then there's a voluntary maintenance account. So generally speaking, you're always going to have money in a maintenance account of one type or the other. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.